The Sports Renegades podcast on SportstownChicago.com.
Never been afraid to say what's on my mind at any given time of day, cause I'm a renegade. Never been afraid to holler about anything.
Welcome in to the Sports Renegades here on SportstownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky. We've got another big show today. We're going to be previewing the Bears game against Minnesota on the road. As always, we'll be having our picks of the week. And in the second hour of the show, we're going to have Paul Shivari call in to give his take on the White Sox three-team trade to acquire Todd Frazier from the Reds.
Yeah, that will be in our second hour. To start off our second hour, we'll also be talking about the Cubs and what they will do as they sign Jason Hayward. And Patrick Kane's point streak is over. We'll talk about how remarkable that was. That was a span of almost a month, maybe 3 weeks or something, with a single point at least in every single game that he played, which is pretty impressive.
Very impressive. So getting into it, the Bears got a tough game against the Vikings on the road. Yep. They probably have a bitter taste in their mouth from their home loss against the Vikings when Sherrick McManus fell down while guarding Stephon Diggs. It resulted in that 48-yard touchdown that probably shouldn't have happened.
No, not at all. And, also I think it was Antrell Roll who was trying to get an interception to sort of ice the game. He just sort of stood there and let the ball come to him, and then the Vikings sort of jumped in front of that and stole the pass from him, and they ended up winning the game on a game-winning field goal, which is not something that you want to see.
Right.
And it's something that we've seen from the Bears all too often this year, as we know.
Yeah, a lot of their games have been coming down to the wire, and that's a huge improvement over last year. Not only just they're not getting blown out every game, they're competitive up until the fourth quarter, and Jay Cutler always has a chance to lead them down for a potential game-winning drive. He might have done that in their earlier game against the Vikings, except as we all know, Matt Forte got injured in the game, and then Jeremy Langford dropped the first down pass.
Right.
And then that resulted in a 3-and-out, which is why the Vikings were able to drive down and win the game. Right now, maybe somewhat of a concern. Right now, Robbie Gould has not been clutch. He has not been good as gold. It's been kind of fool's gold recently.
He has been terrible. I mean, he really has. He had the chance to win the game against San Francisco. Now he had the chance to win the game against Washington. And
to tie the game against Washington.
Yeah, to tie the game.
That one was a 50-yarder in the rain, except, as a kicker, when you're on a winning team, that has to get through. I mean, the Bears are in a situation where at the end of the season, it might look fortunate that he did miss those because they could get another top 7 or top 8 pick.
That's possible, but if they finish 8-8, I mean, it's kind of like I'd rather have them, have 10 or 11 wins, which they realistically could have at this point.
Because they've been in such close games that have come down to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, we've rattled them off before, but you have Detroit, you have
almost every home game.
Besides the first two, it has been every home game. And I mean, the only game that they won, which we were both at, against the Oakland Raiders, they narrowly missed that if Gould didn't make the 49-yard field goal to win it.
Right. I mean, all of the home games pretty much have been close. They've had a lot of winnable games, which is what you like because as you add better talent, those will turn into wins. And right now a kicker is the one position in football where your confidence can really be shaken. And right now, it looks like Robbie Gould doesn't have the confidence in his leg right now because he doesn't miss he rarely misses all these field goals, let alone missing a lot in recent weeks. He missed two against the 49ers. Remember, he missed one earlier in the fourth quarter.
He missed 2 field goals at San Diego. He's missed a whole lot this year. He has been with the team for 10 seasons now.
Right. I mean,
his first
he
season
is
was halfway
old.
Through 2005, so he has.
I mean, he's in his
time.
decline. I mean that. Bottom line, he is in decline, except he's still one of the better kickers, and you maybe just hope that keep him around for next season and hope that he can get his confidence back over the offseason. The Bears will be on a winning team, and that'll have more motivation for him as well.
I don't know. I've been kind of torn on the issue. I like Robbie Gould. He's done a lot of great things. He's had some very important game-winning field goals, and he's pretty much been automatic. But he really took a step back this year, and I'm not so sure if he's the right guy moving forward. You already have a new head coach. You have a new coaching staff altogether. You're starting to get a whole new receiving core and a new team, a new defense, new offense, new special teams. It might be time to get a new kicker. I mean, why not? He's the only guy
Right. You also have
that's
to look,
been there since they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you also have to look at it in the sense of, is there a better option for them? And there probably won't be until his contract expires. I mean, I think this is the type of contract you can just ride out, because look what happened with Pittsburgh and Josh Scobie this year. That they might miss the playoffs because of all those missed field goals.
That's true.
If they had Robbie Gould, they probably would have been making those. So you have to look at that.
I'm not sure.
Who's your best
anybody.
option? A declining Robbie Gould or someone else? So, I mean, really, I think maybe you don't get rid of him yet after this year. Just let his contract play out because there probably won't be a better option than him. I mean, he is in the decline. That's why, maybe let the contract run out and then try to find maybe a new kicker from college, find some good undrafted kicker because, that's what Baltimore did with Justin Tucker.
I'm not so sure how the college football recruiting for the kickers are going to be this upcoming draft. I'm not sure, if there's any must-see kicker.
You're just going to sign like a bunch of undrafted free agent kickers and have them try out in preseason and training camp. When it becomes that time when the Ryan Pace and the front office decide that it's time to move on from Robbie Gould.
Yeah, and Robbie Gould, before he was with the Bears, he was working construction with a family member or something. It was something like that. He was working construction. He got a call that
I think that was because he was cut by the Ravens, I believe.
Yeah, I think he was cut by another team like a year before that. He was working construction. He ended up trying out for the Bears, and he ended up winning the job. And then he ended up being the best kicker in Bears history, that's for sure, as far as the importance of his field goals, especially in the playoffs in 2006. So, yeah, I mean, it's very important. And, it's an important piece, but there's nobody who I'd rather have out there than Robbie Gould. The only problem is this year you're really starting to see the decline with him.
Right. I mean, I think we may have saw it a little bit last year when he got injured at the end of the year, although he only had 12 field goal tries because they were down by so many points. You couldn't really tell.
Go for it on fourth, right?
Yeah, well,
that's what they did last year.
They were in a position that they had to. This year it's been different. I really another thing you also have to factor in is, you could sign a good kicker that won't be good for the Bears because it's tough playing in Chicago, and that's one thing Robbie Gould has done so well is kicking in the Chicago wins. That's what makes everything he's done more impressive.
Right. Okay. Going back to the Bears-Vikings game in Minnesota this Sunday, Minnesota is in pretty good shape for a playoff berth. That's still a possibility that they win the division. I think it's more likely that they'll get a wild card, either the first or second wild card, and it'll be interesting to see what the Bears do. The Bears usually play pretty well in Minnesota, at least in recent memory I can remember. They play pretty well there. The last time they, besides last year and the last few years, the last time they played at that TCF Bank Stadium, which is the University of Minnesota, as Minnesota builds a new stadium, I believe Hester had a return touchdown in that game, and they killed the Bears killed the Vikings.
Well, the last time they played at TCF was last year, and it was the final game of the season.
Yeah, I said besides last year.
Oh, besides last year.
Yep.
That would have been, that was the year they went to the NFC Championship game. That was a Monday night game. That was also when the Vikings weren't very good.
Right.
And this year they're looking like the real deal, and this could be the kind of game that comes down to someone making a game-winning field goal or a game-tying field goal at the end of regulation. That's really what this game could come down to, and we'll see if Robbie Gould gets another chance to redeem himself.
Yeah, the Vikings are 8-5, and they've had a couple close losses too, including last Thursday at Arizona. The Bears are 5-8, so the best the Bears can do is 8-8, which, I mean, when you look at the record, I'd take that in the first year of John Fox. The problem is they really had, now almost 5 games where they really should have won. If they could have found a way to hold on at the end.
Right.
And,
finishing 8-8.
5 more wins.
All finishing 8-8 does is ruin your draft position right now.
Right.
That's all it does. You want another top because you want to try to find some sort of outside or middle linebacker. Obviously, the Bears are going to be trying to win this game. And it could be a good one. We'll see. The defensive line is starting to form into into its own. Eddie Goldman leads all rookies in sacks. Lamar Houston has looked good since the Chargers game. He's been playing really well. He's been coming into his own. We'll see if Pernell McPhee plays because he's been one of their best pass rushers. We'll see if Adrian Amos can develop even more. I mean, it could be a good game. First of all, what they're going to have to do is stop Adrian Peterson in the run, and Eddie Goldman, that defensive line, will have their hands full.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of defenses have been able to stop Adrian Peterson so far this year. He really hasn't had that great of a year. I mean, he's had explosive games where he's rushed for over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns.
And then the Raiders game, he rushed for 201.
Yeah, but I think just last week he barely rushed at all. He had maybe 40, 50 yards. Something like that. I don't know the exact number, but he had, but he's had games where the defenses have been able to shut him down, and we'll see. I don't expect the Bears to do that because Adrian Peterson always seems to run really well against the Bears, but we'll have to see how it works out.
Yep, we will. Anyways, we're going to take a quick time out, and coming up after the break, we're going to have our picks. Stay tuned, Sports Renegades on SportsTownChicago.com.
The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.